Well, you should be about 4 hours into coding. You should have a really good idea of where you're going with this, a real clear concept in your head. And because of that, you should also have a really good vision of what abstraction and what algorithms you're going to be talking about in your responses, particularly response 2C and 2D. So at this point in the programming, I was still having problems with that second role. What I mean is, I was able to clean up a little bit. If you recall, all those if statements I had, it was for each individual die. Now I have it all set up so that if any of the dice are 3 or 4, it adds. If any of the dice becomes a 10, that counts as a strike. And I was able to pretty quickly start on a second roll because it's essentially the same thing. The programming for second roll is essentially the same as the programming for first roll. That wasn't a big deal. Even the score didn't seem to be a big deal to me, but I ran into some problems. So what I mean is, if you take a look at the console log, when I hit run, that first one works. I have it set so that if I get a 10, if I get a strike on that first roll, it doesn't do a second roll. But if I don't get a 10, then it does roll a second time. Now sometimes, like here, it works fine. I got 5 threes on the first roll, and then I got 4 threes on the second roll. And that's great. That's how it's supposed to work. But that first die, I got a 3, which means that first die should be taken out of the running. I no longer have die number 1 because that pin's knocked down now. I can't knock it down again. It's knocked down. But when you take a look, when I roll again, it's still up there. So I really should have, that one shouldn't count. That one shouldn't count. That one should. That one shouldn't count either. So I really should just have a 6. This is the only one that should count because originally if it's a 3, that pin should be gone. And this is the only one that started off as not a 3. So when I first went through this, I had a really hard time trying to figure that out. And I spent a while trying to figure out how to take those individual dice away. I went so far as to go, if 1 pin is knocked down, then I'm going to do this. If 2 pins are knocked down, then I'm going to do this. If 3 pins are knocked down, then I'm going to do this. But that didn't work either. So you should also write in your journal a couple of times here. And what I would write is my difficulty in trying to figure that out. I would again talk about the iterative process here, that I have to keep hitting this console log over and over and over, trying to figure this thing out. For instance, I now have an 11. I somehow knocked down 11 out of 10 pins. So I know this isn't working. I have to debug this. You may also notice I added a little bit of animation to this. I made it look like there's something on the screen anyway. I was sick of just kind of looking at the console log. So I didn't do much. I just made a little function that moves the bowling ball. It doesn't do anything, just something to look at. You have about 3 hours left. You're going to start wanting to think about a good place to stop. For instance, I know I'm over halfway through this thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to make a complete bowling game. I got to figure out how to kind of nip this thing down to 7 or 8 hours. Otherwise, it could take dozens of hours.